Yo, yo, yo. Oh, dynamometer. Fat fingers. I didn't mean to put that up there. How are you? How are you doing? Can you hear me okay? All the usual paranoia over the technology, but as far as I can tell, it's working okay. And I'm Jack Chew, 12:30 till 1 o'clock. We chew it over, whatever is topical at the time. And this week, I haven't had many guests on, have I? Have I had any guests on? I think at the start of the week I did, didn't I? But main reason being, I was protecting my time to cover some of the stuff that was in this Physiomatter State of the Industry survey, which the reports are going out soon following Therapy Live Business, which is next week, to give you an insight into what hundreds of you filling out long form survey answers and stuff to give us these insights into what your thoughts are. And it was just absolutely brilliant to get, but it definitely gave me some areas of priority that you wanted me to chew over and to talk to you about. And so I've been giving a lot of thought to them, and one of them speaks directly to this Therapy Live Business show, which is one of the solutions to the problems that you're describing with regards to the inconsistencies and squabbles that could occur in the therapy business space. We've said the therapy of business before, like we've used that phrase before, and we used it as the name of the stream at the first Therapy Live event last year, which has inspired the Therapy Live Business show, which is next week. I don't know if you've heard the news, but this bad boy, Therapy Live Business, Saturday the 18th of September, is now sold out. So we've had to close the tickets for that. You hungry lot have chomped through our tickets. If you want to get the recordings of that, they are still available. If you go to therapy-live.co.uk/recordings, or go to /lobby and you can select your options. You can access the recorded content on the day. But as far as being live, being able to participate in the Q&A, as well as then being able to engage with the speakers in various different ways, unfortunately, that is now sold out. But if you're a Physiomatters member, then you'll be able to access that content anyway as well. So there are lots of ways you can still participate, but unfortunately, as far as the live event components go, then you have missed out, and unfortunately, that is now closed. But that process of engaging with you all over the course of like last year's Therapy Live big show, we did the Therapy of Business, the Business of Therapy stream, which has inspired this as an event of its own right. We're doing 3 streams of education on fundamentals, progression, and innovation for various different sizes and styles of therapy business. And it's our first truly non-clinical show. We've had non-clinical streams or semi-clinical streams. We've had MSKR streams, which have been more about, say, governance or policy reform. We've had this business stream before, but this is our first non-clinical show. But one of the things I'm most proud about on the content side is that it seems to speak to some of it really will speak to you as a clinician and as a business owner, and why those hats aren't overtly distinct. Like sometimes you'll see business coaches and gurus and stuff that are sort of saying that, well, you need to be really objective and take off the romance that is the healthcare professional hat. And then you've got others that say that really, oh no, it should just be downstream of being a good clinician, that the business will just come. I think that both of those are bullshit, if I'm honest. And I think that this course, the people we've got on the speakers on this conference over the course of the day are going to be helping you to understand as to why I take that position, because it's an opinion that has been shaped, and I've been on a real journey on that myself, where I think I've probably held both those, what I've called crap opinions before, and I understand therefore what state of mind brings people there. I totally get it. Well, apologies on LinkedIn, depending on your settings, depends as to whether or not I can either see your comment, whether or not I can post it up here. When I can post it up here like this one, sometimes it says LinkedIn user rather than your name. And so I'm really sorry for those that participate on LinkedIn that sometimes it does compromise my ability to bring you up on screen and stuff. So please do continue to engage. Really enjoy the comments that come on from LinkedIn, especially on these sorts of topics, because so many of you on there are using it as a sort of business to business networking opportunities. And I think LinkedIn is great for that. And so I'm glad we stream there, but sometimes because of the platform interactions between LinkedIn and my software, it means that sometimes there's a bit of a compromise there. So I'm really sorry. And for those of you that are struggling to get through to me and feel like I'm always ignoring your comments, then at the moment, find us on on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, wherever it is, on Twitch, wherever it is we're also streaming. It's just that LinkedIn is a bit newer to this game, and so it's just a little bit slower. So sorry about that to LinkedIn user who I've just popped up on screen. But again, I always like to, especially on Fridays, I want to interact with you guys more. I want to ask you a question overtly. What do you feel are the key problems in therapy business, if you think there are any at the moment? That's a question that we asked you on the survey. And one of the reasons we did that is we wanted to know as to what you would like Physio Matters to do to help with that. Like, what solutions could we provide that are different? I think that is something that I want to ask you here really, is what do you think are the primary ones? Let me give you some examples, because we did give you examples on the survey. It's things like recruitment, things like workforce planning, which I know is part of that, things like first contact practice or job role, scope of practice, things like interprofessional relations, but inter-sector relations between public and private sector. Do you feel that the CPD and education? Do you think clinical care quality variation is a problem? Like, what do you think in the therapy business game, particularly in MSK practice, because it's always my bias, but what do you see as being the core problem? Do you see macroeconomic problems or factors, shall we say, such as the wider COVID politics or Brexit or other wider political issues being a primary concern for you in business, and that actually the issues of clinical care quality, workforce planning on a physio level, obviously they would be affected by social and political factors, but I'm just meaning like there's almost like the really focused lens on clinical issues, and then there's a wider sort of the way of the world type international issues even that might be affecting it. But how are you? What are you thinking, and what is your thoughts? I know the answers to that on aggregate from hundreds of people that we asked recently, and so I'm just interested for you, if you're tuning in live, and you can just interact with me today as to what it is that you feel is the key issue in therapy business right now. And that includes if you're tuning in and you're not yet in or haven't got any major skin in the game in therapy business. You know, what do you see on if you're in the NHS and you're working? I know some of you working full time in public healthcare. I know when I was, it's not that long ago, there were often issues there whereby you had clashes with local patients that you were struggling to co-treat, or there was different philosophies across the sectors and stuff. And so I still want your opinion. What do you think is the main issue, which would be brilliant. So thank you. If you can join me on that, I would appreciate it. But as per usual, I ask the question, I close my comments for a second, and I then will tell you my thoughts on it, because it's something I've been giving a lot of thought to recently. A big one for me is that if I had to list a top three problems in the business of therapy, and then talk about the solutions of them, this is something I've been giving a hell of a lot of thought to the last 6 months. And I've been really fortunate to work with some brilliant people in this space, especially in the build-up to Therapy Life business. So these are people that have helped me with the definition and the take on the problems, but also in their next breath, they're always thinking about solutions. So I'm talking about Elevate Your Clinic, Andy Hosgood, Phil Badley. I'm talking about HMDG, Michael Schumacher, Hannah Humphreys, David Kennedy. I'm talking about the speakers that are also going to be on the show. So paying attention to people like Obi Hassan's work, Joe Turner, Sue Julian's, Lucy McDonald, lots of inspiration there when I look on at people who are doing things well in the therapy space. I take inspiration from those that are in clinic that are then doing things differently, but also delivering care quality. And then I look at the massive innovators in the space as well. So I'm just name dropping over and over now, but Anna Maria Mazzieri, the school, Matt Scarsbrook, Becky DeMott Horton, people like Tim Allardyce at Rehab My Patient, who then has this clinical hat, but also is then developing bespoke software for therapists. These are all people that are helping to define problems and then solving them as best they can. For me, the top three involve all of that, and they are quite unique to now. One of them is that there is a workforce problem where if we can't supply the demand because of, say, NHS waiting lists, so this is where the wider environment of national and international politics do affect it. So we know that there's some challenge, just to say the least, some challenges in the health system, means that then you've got more people in the market that might then pay cash in hand to clinics to get their saw bits looked at, let's just say in MSK terms. And then the clinic is at capacity for what it has in terms of a staff base. Let's say that clinic has 2 rooms that were otherwise empty or only partial, but they can't find the staff to actually serve that demand. Then do they develop a waiting list, lose it to their competition, or if they I'm hearing from many of you that in their locality, right, there's people in a postcode that even if they went to one of the 4 practices that serve that area, everyone's so busy and they're all struggling to recruit. Particularly, this is the thing I hear. So some people saying I can't recruit therapists, and then when I ask them more closely, they mean I can't recruit the right therapists, and then we get into a conversation about that. But generally speaking, there is this pressure on recruiting the right therapists, and I hear about that all the time. So I'd be surprised, I haven't spoken to anyone really that said that isn't a problem in the industry at all at the moment, and I think it's something that is a known workforce issue across sectors, by the way. I've spoken before about the fact that the sort of job in Band 6 role in a rehab setting in MSK is such a core role, and is losing to various different places. One of the places it's losing staff to is in private practice, because savvy business owners are realising that what might have been like, oh, would you fancy doing a couple of evenings and a weekend day as an associate, as a side hustle? They're realizing that they've got such a demand for their services that they're going to take a punt and salary someone, and therefore try and draw them out of the NHS for the first time, because one of the things that they were in the NHS for was security. I think it's something that, oh, sorry, 1 second. Just going to double check. Just going to double check something there. Hold on. I think it was just my headset going wrong there. I think you should still be able to hear me. Do let me know. Sorry if you've lost me. Let me know. But yeah, some noise just went off in my ears. What I would suggest is that when those savvy business owners are making those sorts of calls, it doesn't mean that then that's the solution I'm proposing. We know that there are complexities to the workforce and recruitment issues in therapy business. That is one way, though, is that I think there are so many businesses that I'm hearing from that are so used to erring on the side of caution and having someone as an associate for quite a long time, and only when it's really obvious that they're generating their own traffic and their own revenue, that then they will move them on to salary because it's economically better for the practice, and you're offering them that stability in contract at that point. Honestly, I think that there's so many therapists out there that yes, the salary that you're going to be able to offer them, and the earning potential and the flexibility and all the work conditions. One of the things that I think therapy businesses are underestimating now is then it's a buyer's market for quality therapists. They're going to want those job security elements as well. They want to want the contracted annual leave, paid leave. They want to want the security that comes from then pensions and the like. Yeah. And if they're not used to, especially if they're not used to being self-employed, then they're just going to look on and think, no, I'd rather a like for like structured contract, and they're probably going to make demands in keeping with the leave requirements as well. I've seen that happen. Not so much here; it's a different situation with us in many different ways because of the nature of business that we have, as well as the fact that we've got this a slightly different reputation interprofessionally, of course, through Physiomasters Therapy Live, MSK, that sort of stuff. So it's slightly different for us. But I'm hearing from lots of clinic owners that are just feeling like, right, I'm getting someone come in and I really want to recruit them, but they're asking for like annual leave like they used to have in the NHS. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And if you really want them, then you'll grant them that. And if they're worth it, then they're worth it, aren't they? And so it used to be that it was like, right, you might get paid more, but you're going to have to compromise on these structural sort of perks that you might get in the public sector. Unfortunately, I'm of the opinion that you don't try to squeeze them. It's just tough shit, really. That's a market force, and you need to respond to it. And I would say if they're worth it, and I hear from so many of you about the fact that you're struggling to recruit quality and that the applicants you're getting you don't think are up to much, and you find one, you make it work. And if you've done your numbers right, and you lot would have done your numbers right, because you'd have had the sense to work with someone like Obi Hassan from Clarity, and you've kind of worked out that it's worth it, and that you're hemorrhaging money in opportunity because you've got people sat on a waiting list or going elsewhere because they can't book an appointment, or the appointments that you do have left are crap ones in the middle of the afternoon on a Thursday that no one wants at that point, and therefore getting someone that can start afresh with an open diary, then you can respond to those inquiries. It's just that you're probably just going to need to be braver. So two things really. The problem is recruitment. One of the solutions is that. The other solution is that, to watch this space, Physio Matters are going to help you out in terms of finding the talent. You can imagine that this, and we hear this all the time, is that people are actually saying that it's a really kind of thing they're often saying to us about how they're really weighting Physio Matters almost participation, listenership, being a podcast listener, or being a member of Physio Matters, being a Therapy Live attendee, and in that ecosystem, people are sort of realizing that that's a proxy for being a sensible, evidence-informed therapist who cares about critical thinking. And so people are putting that on CVs or bringing it up at interview or saying about how that's how they keep it in touch and up to date, which is brilliant. What we're trying to do is we're creating a system that we're going to announce at Therapy Live Business, how we're going to help you to identify that talent. And then if they're in the market for a new job and in your regional vicinity, then we will introduce you. We have found a way to make that happen. And so you presented that with us as a problem in the industry. I agree, and I hear about that all the time. We're coming up with some solutions in that direction, as well as the fact that one of the solutions I'm saying you can have here for free. You're just going to need to be braver. You need to not. It needs to be. Unfortunately, it's a buyer's market. It's on their terms. A clinician that's interested in work in your area, if you don't snap up of the fact that they're hustling you for a few more days annual leave, I know that can, if that's a stock salary, right, and then you end up needing to then think, well, can I do that across the board? I think that at the moment it's not going to sort itself out in a rush, and so yeah, give them what they want, and yeah, you can see the trade unionist in me coming back on that, can't you? So rather than the business owner, you might think that those things fly in the face of each other. I don't think they do necessarily, but I just admittedly, that's what I think you should be doing, because I've seen people who've moved that way do well and never regret it, and I've seen people that I'm really struggling to hire, and it's like, well, you're just not being brave enough on various different parts of your price point and stuff, or I feel really sorry for those that are sort of having to bottom feed and getting dragged down by the insurers and stuff, and so they've just not got enough margin. That's a slightly different thing, and one of the problems that I could have mentioned, but I'm not going to, because it's not in my top three. Another one that I wanted to sort of mention to you, that we've defined as a problem and we're looking to try and seek solution for, is that you spoke for choice for the proliferation of sort of CPD materials, as well as then ideas being thrown around. And how do you integrate these things? How do you actually then become an applied, pragmatic therapist that takes best evidence and then channels it well into the work with patients, that clearly aren't going to then comply with sort of empirical data, or might bring with them unique challenges to them. Okay, and so it's this process of getting clinicians to understand best practice and best new evidence and how to integrate it, but then making sure they apply it sensibly so that they don't end up being whatever works, and so they just become someone who's got this toolbox, multi-tool belt, call it what you will, whatever analogy you want, where they've just got these various different techniques that they just do to people or on people or with people. And then their whole thing is that, well, if it works, it works, rather than caring about the mechanism, caring about the fact that then the longevity of the success of that treatment and stuff. And so it's this putting reasoning in the heart of it and really rationally critiquing your own intervention, so that you're not then just doing what you've always done. It's like the height of like over subjective practice. Then you've got people that get carried away the other way and become almost like empirical, say, nihilists, where they're saying that, like, computer says no, the evidence says no, and they start then, especially in the therapy business game, you can imagine if you take on an associate that's just like, well, no, I'm not giving even though the patient sat in front of me saying that they're really struggling to get out of a chair, I don't have any nice guideline level empirical systematic review evidence to suggest that I should prescribe them squats for this particular problem. Therefore, I won't do it. It's almost this like cartoonish, like I need layers of empirical evidence and data to imply that that's smart, because they're not putting it through an appropriate filter of clinical reasoning. Then that's crap for a therapy business as well, because they're full of shit, handing out trying to put. I mean, it rarely works, and they rarely end up even anywhere near your business. But generally speaking, obviously they're going to struggle. Is that if we think about those two people, we're trying to create resources and engage them in participatory education that will persuade those that are a bit cavalier about anything goes, throw shit at a wall and see what sticks type over subjective practice, and then also trying to persuade those that are getting carried away on an supposedly evidence-based background, that then are being really narrow with their treatment selection because they perceive that then nothing works, or they don't realize that individualizing it and making it bespoke for people is a good move as well. And we're trying to make resources that will be persuasive to both those camps, because essentially it is that almost that third way, which is cheesy, but it is kind of through the middle and trying to explain that you don't want to compromise your ethics and values, but you also don't want to then pretend that these things can be made as formal as, say, in pharmaceuticals or in pharmacy, let's say, where you're titrating doses and the response rates, and that the evidence can come in such an empirical manner. It's more, that is where dare I say, the art in the science. And that's the problem that we're hearing from you on, is that you're witnessing some of that. You've seen that amongst your existing therapists, as well as those that you might be trying to recruit, or you're even noticing in yourself that you get drawn one way or the other. There's times where you're just thinking, well, fuck it, if it works, it works. And then there's other times that you're thinking, oh, it's really, I'm getting drawn too far and too close to the evidence, so I'm thinking maybe I shouldn't be doing this, even though it feels intuitively right and there's no reason not to. We hear from you all the time on that. And so the solution, of course, is some of the stuff we've been doing all the time. We've got now a back catalogue of many a podcast, video, webinar, etc. But then also through physiomatters.com, we are going to be bringing you more tailored interventions, including mentorship packages for you and your staff and your teams, so that then you as a clinic can have, say, memberships where all your staff have got access to best practice resources. You get special episodes, a special access to some of our speaker base and network, as well as then being able to sort of have those clinicians that are struggling in that space where they're getting a bit lost as to how to apply this in practical terms. We're going to have those sort of one-to-one mentorship and masterclass opportunities, which are then integrated within our ecosystem, so that then you're going to be able to have those signposts into, be that audio, video, written materials, translations to documented evidence reviews and stuff like that. So we're going to have that going on all in one place. So physio-matters.com. If you're not a member already, then get on there. And also for those that are in the therapy business game, creating efficiencies and helping you with that training and helping your staff be on from the same hymn sheet, but also as critical thinkers, not on the same hymn sheet, because you're then just having to sort of template that and just trying to therefore take the edge off everyone's individuality. That is a concern. So Kelly Clinton, let me see what she's put here. Is this for physiotherapist talent only, or including other clinicians too? I cannot see. I'm trying to work out whether. Sorry, that was like 5 minutes ago and I missed it, Kelly, because I closed my comments while I'm wittering on. Were you meaning when I was talking about sort of recruitment and talent identity type stuff, or were you meaning when I was talking about, say, CPD and education? So I'm just sorry, I don't know which bit you were asking me the question on. So if you're still listening, Kelly, then please, just let me know. Oh, okay, sorry, she said yes, and okay, I asked the question and she said yes to it, and now still none the wiser. Sorry, Kelly, this is me just not working out what it is you're asking. Let's say the talent bit. Yeah, sorry, thank you, Kelly. The first thing, absolutely, it is for all MSK clinicians. For those of you that don't know, I have a fairly infamous position to say I do not care what flavour the certificate is on your wall. If you should be reading and interpreting the same evidence and acting on it sensibly according to your skill set and scope. So physiotherapists, osteopaths, chiropractors, sports rehabilitators, sports therapists, soft tissue therapists, occupational therapists, particularly in the MSK game, podiatrists. Absolutely, we will be getting that talent. In fact, that's a big part of it, if I'm honest, Kelly. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that gets made. Clinics that are then pouring over or giving a chance to some crap physio when they've got like 2 or 3 sports rehabilitators or osteopaths locally that would be biting their hand off. It's just hilarious how many people have got their blinkers on with a particular profession, and so that's going to be very much interprofessional, based on MSKR principles of competency based recruitment. And so I've got other episodes I can signpost you to. I'm glad I'm glad you've mentioned it, and I'm sorry I wasn't clearer on that. And so to the sorry, I'll come back to some of the comments in a second. But the third thing I wanted to talk to you about today, a problem I think in the therapy business industry that we need to sort of provide solutions to, and one that I'm constantly working on and constantly thinking about. And it's one of the most controversial things that I seem to keep saying. Like, there's people that keep, not everyone, of course, most of you fine with it, but then some people are kind of pissed when I talk about this, is that there is this there is an immature conversation about practice ethics that we're not having well as a community about the public-private sector issues, whereby you've got the public sector implying that the private sector are all profiteer charlatans that are just taking advantage of people for money, which is obviously not fair and painting with too broad a brush, but equally there's a kernel of truth in it somewhere, and we maybe need to clean house a little bit, which again, people think that that's controversial, especially for some reason people say that, a HCPC registered chartered physiotherapist would never do anything ethically dubious. I mean, I know the governance processes and lack of, and I can guarantee that that's not true. Now, if you want to make a case that that is a smaller part that I'm describing, or you're mistakenly hearing that I'm saying that that's everyone, of course it's not. But we need to negotiate that better, and we need to do more to have that conversation maturely. Similarly, I think I've said before that there's a lot of complacency that can occur sometimes, unfortunately, and then so the private sector then accuses the public sector of being complacent, and you're just giving out sheets of exercise and seeing people 3 times and almost patient blaming. You're not individually making things bespoke, and that the NHS is going down the pan, and that there's no quality care being delivered. We asked some of these questions of a flavour in the survey, the State of the Industry survey that Physio Matters did recently. Hundreds of people answering some of these questions about how they see themselves and each other and the industry at large and stuff. So we've got some brilliant data on this. So I feel quite justified in my opinion that I'm describing here, and I'm describing mainly that we're not having that conversation well. That's the problem I'm describing, is that the ethics of it are ones that are still contentious. And so for those that work across industry, across sectors within the industry, I just think it's something that we need to grow up. And even though it's uncomfortable, we need to have it better. And so to the solution, we need to have better public dialogue. Of course, I would say that because we talk on the internet, that's what we do. But also, I need to put my money where my mouth is and speak in different platforms and to reach across the aisle in different ways. And so I'm very fortunate to be co-chairing with Karen Lay from Physio First. She's the chair of Physio First, and a brilliant friend and ally of mine in many ways, and someone that has helped to really give me heart and hope that organisations like Physio First have got a chance of sort of reform and improvement, as well as then them trying to be our voice in the industry, in the MSK game. We're co-chairing a session about private and public sector relations in MSK. In physiotherapy, maybe it is. And it's at Physio UK. It's at the CSP's flagship event in November. I forget the dates and stuff. But anyway, I'm speaking at that event. I've spoken at it before, not on the virtual, but they've got this like Sims-like platform and stuff. So it'll be a good session. And the reason I'm mentioning it is because if I'm saying that better public dialogue about those issues is going to help us and that we're doing it badly, then I can't just stick to my own usual platforms to do it and then invite people that I want to debate and discuss things with. Of course, that's helpful, but you also need to then fish where they swim a little bit. Go to places like the sort of CSP's conference, which is very different demographic in various different ways to our usual audience in some ways. And so I'm really pleased to see Karen and Physio First doing that. Very kindly invited me to participate in that, and I, off the back of it, us as MSKR, as well as part of my think tank, we're looking into ways in which we can do some work to try and analyze that state of that part of the industry. And I encourage you to engage not dissimilarly as we have in that conversation. And we probably all need to, again, be a bit braver, be a bit braver in doing it, as well as a bit less sensitive and bite each other's heads off less, and not paint with too broad a brush, but also not feign offense when someone doesn't say it perfectly with the perfect caveats and stuff, right? So that's 3 things: recruitment, education, and then conversation, shall we say? Yeah, that we need to do better. Problems in the business industry and solutions, of course, going to then be discussed across Therapy Live Business, 18th of September, which is now sold out, but you can get the recordings. And it's just going to be a spectacular event. Really excited for it, and excited that I've had this opportunity to spend some time with people at Elevate Your Clinic and HMDG and Clarity and MeHub and all these brilliant thinkers and brands in this space that have helped refine my take on therapy business, and then all of us simultaneously drive towards solutions. And I hope you guys will come for that ride with us. It's been an absolutely brilliant experience for me ahead of time. I know how spectacular the show is going to be, but then also it's what's going to happen afterwards. How are we all going to get together as a community of practice to actually refine and reform that side of the industry so that it can better help the health of the nation and beyond, right? That's what we're all in the game for. And so it's a huge opportunity. The timing is so perfect as MSK reemerges. And so I'm excited to do that with you. So thank you so much, and keep an eye out for all the things I've described are going to be announced at Therapy Live Business, as well as then afterwards across social media. So do join me. Thank you so much for participating on my Friday show. I'm very sorry for those whose comments and points I haven't been able to get to. Some of them because of the privacy settings that you guys have on LinkedIn and to a lesser extent on Facebook. So sometimes if I don't bring it up on screen, it's because of that. For example, Sam, thank you for your big thumbs up and celebration emojis and stuff. I'm sorry I can't bring them up on screen, but it's because of your privacy settings. And for those maybe hopefully I can bring Joe Turner's on. Yeah, it's going to be a goodie. It is, absolutely. And thank you for your participation. Kelly, thank you for your joining in as well. I hope you're going to be attending Therapy Live Business, and you'll hear more about this talent scouting and recruitment site that we're working on as well. She's a GSR, brilliant. Absolutely. One of the things that's most convinced me is that the more I interact with GSRs, the more I realise that they're not just like my mates and allies and stuff. It makes me then think that's my almost spiritual home in that rehab game. Expert MSK rehabbers and stuff. It's exciting. So thanks a lot. Have a great weekend, everyone, and I'll see you on Monday, where I've got Andy Hosgood and Phil Badley from Elevate Your Clinic, and we're going to be going through what they're going to be up to at Therapy Live Business, as well as what they see as being reflections on their hot take on the therapy business industry, as well as then offers that they've got through EYC ahead of the event. So very excited to do that, and I look forward to next week. Cheers, guys. Have a good one. Bye.